same grip, right? So we got the same exact grip on the bar. We're trying to get that bar to live in our thumb valley and those pads in the heel of the hand. So I grip my bar, boom, there's my thumb valleys, there's my pads, all my fingers go around, and then I find rotation on my shoulders, and that's what stacks me up, creates torque in the system. Okay, so now I got torque in the system, I could come on out. Strict press. The forearm angle drives where my bar ends. If my forearm angle is boom here, the bar is going to end over your heads, right? Forearm angle's here, the bar is going to end up in my chin. So what I'm trying to do is find just a degree or two forward of straight up and down. Why? So that when I pull my chin out of the way and I press, bar ends the top of my spine. If I have a vertical forearm, bar is not going to end on top of my spine. It's going to end straight up, which is in front of my head. So it's never a vertical forearm, it's just a couple degrees, elbow is just a couple degrees forward of barbell, so that the end of the trajectory of my barbell is sitting right over the top of my spine. Now, I believe at the top of every single strict press, you should be thinking about your abs. There should be some awareness of your butt and some awareness of your abs. Because if we look at a human from the side, if we don't have any awareness, these two things, if we lose the ribs, right? We lose the abs, we see the ribs start to flare. Now I'm loaded in a strict press, right? So now my spine's loaded. And if I'm starting to flare, then I'm starting to go into some hyperextension. And if I'm starting to go into some hyperextension, then we are pinching the vertebrae. And if we're pinching the vertebrae, then we're squeezing that jelly out of those jelly donuts somewhere, right? We talked about that jelly donut analogy. That jelly's got to go somewhere. So if I keep some awareness of my abs so that I'm not blowing up or flaring my ribs, and I keep some awareness of my butt at the top, then I keep my S curve. And then my jelly's not going anywhere, right? So the top of my strict press, I'm here, I can be relaxed at the bottom, and at the top of my strict press, I'm trying to think a little ab for rib down, that would be no ab, right? I'm already hyperextending. A little ab, and then squeeze my ass, and I descend my pelvis. I lose my butt, I lose my ribs, and now here I am, and I'm pinching a vertebrae in my spine. So a little ab down, and some awareness of my ass.
Say we have an athlete that's in that top movement and is losing that.
Yes.
Obviously, it's like, engage your core, engage your ass. But say they don't, and you want them to drop is the best thing to just bail out of that weight, or like how?
Yeah, just bail out of it. Drop that thing.
Just be like, hey, get that off of you.
Yeah.
Right?
And how do we? I think this is a good thing to test. To videotape too. Is how do we test a human's overhead range of motion? Do we have a method of a quick test for a class to figure out where they're going to be when they're overhead with principles? All right, so let's talk about principles. What's the principle of a strict press?
So you want to put your arms out in front of you, engage your lats, and then you'll start to raise your arms to see at which point.
That's the test, but what's the principle? The principle is still big toe, little toe, heel rooted, right?
Yeah.
So we got a solid foundation. So let's all do it together. Set your foot principle. Humans in general are strongest at pulling and pressing with their feet under their hips. That's the place to start, okay? So let's set those principles. Got my feet, big toe, little toe, heel rooted. How about feet under hips? So we're stacked through our joints. And then what do? We're hyperextended, right? No awareness of my ass, no awareness of my abs. Bring some awareness to your abs and pull your rib cage down. Bring a little bit of awareness of your butt just to set your pelvis, and then now we should have our natural S curve, and this should feel very easy to get into. This should be my standing around posture, okay? So now that I've got good posture and I'm stacked up, I've stacked all my joints up and down. Here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna take your hands and you're gonna find external rotation. So what do? Boom, at the shoulder, rotation. Now don't lose your awareness of your abs, don't lose awareness of your ass, and start taking those hands up overhead. How far can you take those hands overhead without flaring the ribs and without letting your butt go? For me, It's there today. So where's my strict press going to be? There today. Is that's in front of my ear. I'm not stacked over my spine. Could I get there? Yeah, sure, I could get there if I fight it. So would I allow myself to strict press today? Yeah, sure, I could fight that position and get there. I would probably have less resistance if I used dumbbells, right? Because my arms could move freely of each other. They don't have to be married to the same barbell, right? So I would have less resistance as a human if I did single arm press with dumbbells, just because I'm a little bit tight today. But let's address the number one fault we see, and we'll get this on video for us, is we're strict pressing. And today, my biceps are in front of my ears a little bit. But coach said, look, my biceps should be behind my ears. So how do I do that? I do that this way. I break in the ribs, or I think I'm making a difference by overextending through the neck. And this is the number one fault I think that we should understand when we're coaching strict press. If I go through that test again, big toe, little toe, heel rooted, little awareness, go up overhead, boom. Here I am. If I overextend through my neck, that did not change this angle. This did not get any better. What I've done is I've given myself room to allow my immobile shoulders to move around. It didn't make my overhead position or range of motion any better. It moved my neck out of the way so that my scapulas can go up and over my neck instead of being set down and around my rib cage. So my stability comes here, not here. So when we do this, that's not changing our overhead range of motion. It's not making it any better.
Do we lose? Yeah, we kind of lose.
You actually go into intro rotation. And that is a path of least resistance, or a path of less tension. And that's what humans are looking for. They're, you relax for a little bit. But then you've just put all that tension into these trap muscles. We're supposed to be pressing on our shoulders. So strict press should not have anything to do with what's happening up here. It should have everything to do with, can I keep that load in my shoulders? And if I can't get myself stacked up to bicep to ear, then get rid of this fucking thing. This thing isn't doing me any good. I'd be way better off going to dumbbells, kettlebells, a single plate, be a dozen of ways on a single arm press that I can get a better range of motion because I'm not creating that compression where the shoulder blades run into each other. There's nowhere for them to go, right? And that's why people stick their necks out. They give their shoulder blades some room to move around.
Wait, so what's the main reason why people can't go quite as far back? And like, if they want to be more flexible, like how can they develop that?
Yeah, so go overhead for me. Boom. Okay. Now just move 3 or 4 inches front to back. Yeah. Everybody, see what muscles are moving?
Mm-hmm.
There?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that's the inhibitor of that arm going back, right? Because watch. Now take it back. Can't, right? Can't get it back because I'm holding that pec down. So that's going to be the inhibitor of getting that way. Now, getting closer to the ear, look what's moving. This is going to be an inhibitor. Bring it down. Boom, go. You can't, right? I'm blocking it. So better range of motion through here is going to allow closer bicep to ear. Better range of motion through here is going to allow bicep behind ear. And then a healthy upper back where these shoulder blades can move around allows for a pinch in the shoulder blades, which is shoulder blades coming back. It allows for articulation in shoulder blade, which is bicep trying to come to ear. Right? Like if this is all locked down, my shoulder blade's not doing this or this. And that's how come humans get stuck here. Right? So if the upper back is healthy, then we could see all that, and we can also see if we stand here and just take this on like a lateral raise here, you can see that shoulder blade do this. If that was locked here, that wouldn't happen. If that was locked here, this wouldn't happen. So it would have a hard time getting that bicep back to the ear.
How does someone like develop that or like make it more
Awareness through that?
Yeah.
That's where like all that T-spine lacrosse ball stuff and, you know, driving the bus with the 25-pound plates and cleaning up all this tissue around here. My analogy for that is your scapula is a piece of glass. And we live in this really cool fucking city where we care about everybody. And if you go to the driveway or the sidewalk aprons, you cut the end of a crosswalk and you walk up on the sidewalk. Every one of these crosswalks has what looks like a little yellow Lego board, that braille on that. Okay, take a piece of glass and run it across the Lego board. It ain't gonna fucking happen. It's gonna do this, right? So the scapula's got half the same things happening here. If I get a bunch of little adhesions in my traps or in all this tissue through here, like let's say a whole bunch of little knots in here and shit, how is that hard bone gonna articulate over them? It's not. What happens is it starts to move and it has to go over something. And then it moves more and has to go over something. And what we see is we see that when people do shoulder circles, right? You see a shoulder circle go, yeah, looks good, looks good. Why the fuck is it way over there? It ran into one of those bones. It ran into a knot. Like the bone's not moving through it. So it has to go, oh, then it's good, and then it's shitty, and then it's good. Well, that's because it's trying to go over all that shit. There's no way it's going to go over all that stuff. It's got to move freely through that stuff. So if we can get rid of all those little adhesions, then my glass isn't run over braille anymore. My glass is just running over a smooth surface. But you run into a speed bump, but it's got to go around it, and that's the same thing that's happening in our upper backs. That's how, if you look at how the scapula works.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
So also, a lot of people have like compression front to back on their rib cage. So instead of having like a cylinder type of rib cage where the scapula can move like around it pretty easily, it's squished front to back. And so the shape of the rib cage then dictates limitations of the scapula being able to move up, down, closer, further away, winging, and then like coming closer to the rib cage. So if someone tries all the mobility that they can think of, worked with, you know, massage therapists and stuff like that, it could be an actual shape of their body problem and limitation. And there are things that you can do, but that's just a layer of like complexity that comes in terms of like shoulder movement.
If we were to look down at you from the top, so we were in outer space looking right down at the top of you, we would want to see a rib cage that looked kind of like that. This is the sternum, this is the spine. The back of that rib cage is rounded a little bit. And that's when we talk about the ring row last time, and we talked about the stretch of the shoulder blade going around the rib cage. That's this. The shoulder blade's going around the rib cage. Now that compression that Emily's talking about is this. Back of the rib cage isn't around anymore. Can't go around. It's stuck. It goes over. And that's when we see, and we stopped seeing this. We don't see it go around because it got smashed.
It seems like something that I've seen quite a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's, I imagine, probably a mixture of maybe body stuff, mobility stuff. It's kind of our job to help.
Well, yeah, sure. At some point in the future. It's not going to be your job to address right now in a group of 20 people. How would you address compression in a group of 20 people?
Maybe I'll restate that. I don't mean address, but be mindful of like, oh, this is happening, and it might be what Emily mentioned, it might be mobility, it might be laziness, just kind of being aware for ourselves that if it's happening, there may be a anatomical reason behind it or something else.
But you can address it.
Yeah.
And we would address that in putting that human in a pattern where they have range of motion. So what can we do that with? Dumbbells?
Use a bench.
Use a bench?
Seated bench.
Seated bench. Like maybe they're not straight up and down. Maybe they look a little bit more like incline. Right? Because what happens, right? It's, oh shit, I don't have the range there, but I do here. Well, that looks sort of like an incline. But that also is landmine.
Oh, is that what that's called? A landmine?
Now, coach, I can't do this. I know, I'm aware, but you can do that. So can we press? By all means we can press. Maybe we just can't press both arms at the same time on a barbell. Why? Because we're compressed. And the shoulder blades have nowhere to go. They're stuck here, right? Like, so if that human is smashed front to back, those shoulder blades aren't going around. They're not articulated. They're just smashed. They're stuck. So how we expect that human to get in any of these positions or even be able to do it with a barbell is going to be almost impossible. They're going to lose, again, they're going to compensate around another joint to make room for their shoulder blades which aren't moving, right? So then how do I get them moving? Take them to a dumbbell, change their pattern, figure out, do that test. Where are you? Oh, okay, there's where you are today. Cool, this is where you're pressing. Coach, I can't press here. Why? Because I can't hold the weight there. All right. Well, if the bottom of the weight is at an anchor point, then you can. I haven't strict pressed in 6 months, maybe longer. And I have the range of motion. But I have a way better shoulder press with landmine, so why not landmine? And there's a handful of landmines around. So you can address it by allowing them to live in the range of motion they do have and train.
I really love what you just said right now, because I was wondering how you would address, right? Because telling someone about their physical ability to do something would be a little bit like discouraging.
Absolutely.
So like, I love that you explained it that way, by showing them where they can actually go to with a different move.
Which
I
is
think that's really great.
why a lot of the times I start warm-ups in swinging kettlebells or any of that stuff and finding where your range is. Find some people check out, yeah, Marc doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I get it. They go all about their business. But a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm stuck here, coach. Like, cool, awesome. You can press there. Go figure out the best way to do it. What would the best way to press here be? Would be that. Right? Because gravity's fighting against me. That's a long lever with weight. Gravity's trying to yank that bar to the ground, and I'm trying my best to yank it back. So I'm fighting gravity the whole time. And I'm fighting my mobility. Just really kind of sucks. I fight the whole 15 minutes to try to lift a weight. Well, if I could take the gravity leverage piece out, which is now here, then all I have to do is work on my strength training. I don't also have to figure out, how do I stop this from going to the ground, number one. And number two, how do I get myself into position? And number three, how do I train my shoulders? Yeah, fucking right. It's not going to happen.
Is it the same principles when you're doing it that way?
Yeah. So I'm here, still big toe, little toe heel rooted, and I'm pressing through. I still got a little butt awareness. I still got a little ab awareness. I'm still not doing any of this. What I've done is just take this whole mobility piece out of it and just trained on my shoulders. And then you could grab a Viking press, which is the two-handed version. Push press. Like, there's no, I mean, I can have the most immobile person in the world still do push press. Because what's the idea with the push press? Nothing but learning how to transfer load across multiple muscles of the body. That's really all it is. So if I can get into a place here, step them back, get them braced, dip in, that is a push press. The same principles. I'm learning how to transfer load across multiple joints, and I'm carrying that load through my shoulders. Doesn't matter if I have a barbell here or landmine, the same intention is there. It's just about getting the human in the right spot. Cool.
Quick clarification, when you said incline, were you talking about like an incline
Incline bench.
bench? Okay.
Yeah, like setting up an incline, right?
Like what we were doing this morning?
Absolutely.
Yeah? Okay.
If I get myself up into a pattern like that, I can press there.
Got it.
Right?
Marc.
I can lean against it. I can press straight up and down.
Perfect.
And somebody said, well, that's an incline bench press. You're like, no, that's an incline press.
Yeah. On a bench.
Yeah,
Or using a
no,
bench.
it's an incline press. A press is a press. It's what muscles are we using will change what angle, just like a squat's a squat. I can bias a different muscle group, but we got to get out of the idea of, okay, well, coach, it's incline bench press. No, we're going to figure out where your range of motion is, and you're going to press there. Whether that is standing up and down, whether that is landmine, whether that is sitting on a bench, what we're doing is finding your in range of motion and learning to press there because we're trying to build strength in the shoulder. Get out of the idea that that's a bench. No, it's not an incline bench press. It's an incline press.